Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third interview of Meet the Suppliers. We are one person down. Sadly, occasions couldn't make it at last minute, but they will be on Tuesday, the 2nd of February, I think it is. So they will be reappearing. So if you was popping by to ask them a question, make sure you come back next week. So tonight we have Simon from Ad Vintage Arrow Cars, and we have Andrew from Down on Hall, and a familiar face from last week, or not even last week, on Friday, Iain from Anthony's Formal Wealth. So good evening, chaps.
Hello. Good evening.
How are we all?
Very good, thanks. Yeah, well, considering. Yeah.
So what's been going on? I'll start with you, Andrew. So what's been going on in the sense of sort of like during the pandemic? What have you been doing as a venue to keep busy? Make changes, any sort of things being done up at
obviously, it's a case of planning, isn't it? And I think the first thing being absolutely blunt, the first thing you do is you plan for your survival. I mean, you need to make sure that you keep going, that you've got your budgets in place and all that sort of stuff, all the boring stuff that will work. And then really it's about surviving with keeping your team in place. I mean, my wife is tending to the children right now, but as a couple, we are not able to run a wedding venue on our own. It's absolutely impossible. So keeping your team going, keeping them motivated, keeping them interested as well, frankly, and they're doing a lot of stuff. So we've been doing lots of other things. I mean, as a venue, we are also a bed and breakfast, and we do all the other events as well. But particularly what we've really branched out into is actually our restaurant. We were kind of operating a cafe and a restaurant before. We'd hired a chef ready to do all of the weddings and everything else going forwards. But he's run restaurants before, so we took that on. We decided to do that. So that's been the big change for us, is taking that on and doing that. And that's been hard work, but that's been the main thing. And we've done lots around the gardens and all sorts of things to fill our time. But it's been a case of keep people going and keep people coming to the venue.
Perfect. And what about yourself, Simon? What have you been up to? Keeping busy?
Yeah, well, busy is the word. It is busy. It's still work. It's different work. We're quite varied in that we don't just do weddings. We do other promotional and film and TV work. So we haven't necessarily stopped, but obviously just a big production. We're a bit like dear Iain from Anthony's, in that we cater for numerous weddings right the way through the year. So not just kind of, one a weekend or one a day, because we've got 20 cars or 25 cars. We do multiples of weddings per day. So the administration in postponing up to, well, we're up to now, as of today, with another 225 weddings is what we postponed. That's 225, and some of those have postponed 3 times. They are 225 couples that have postponed, some 3 times, some 4 times. So it's if anything, I'm probably busier now with work, not necessarily business, but with work than I was prior to the pandemic. But it's all about adapting, isn't it? As Andrew just said quite rightly, it's all about looking at your budgets. There are going to be challenging times ahead, if not immediately, and it's just about trying to work within your own means for longevity, because we all, like it or not, we do have responsibilities to the brides and grooms out there, and we in all of our own different ways are working in various different ways to support them as much as we can, whilst at the same time having to support ourselves. So yes, very busy. Would like to be doing different sorts of work though, and hopefully not too long now we'll be back. How about you, mate? How about you?
I think I was in denial for the first month. I sort of thought, we'll be back by July. It won't be a big deal. And then I think reality come down with a thud. And I think that's when the phone started ringing and the calls started coming. First, it was just sort of the Aprils and the Mays, and then it snowballed and got bigger and bigger. So we had 91 weddings as a business. We completed just 7 in 2020. So it was a massive, and like most of us, if you don't do the work, you don't get paid. So it was, like Andrew rightly said, get the affairs in order. and sort out what we needed to sort out. But after that initial shock, I just licked my wounds and picked myself up and thought, right, what can I do? What can I learn? So I personally sort of educated myself in different elements of photo editing, pushed my boundaries a bit with model work, and that all led to me opening a studio. And it come from nowhere. What a great time to expand your business. But no, really looking forward to that. So when this lockdown finishes and lifts, we will be opening straight away. It's all sitting there ready to go. So it's been sort of a mixed bag for me, but yeah, no, mainly quite positive, really, the outcome. So yeah, really good. So Iain, I know we spoke to you the other day and stuff. So did you set yourself any goals? Have you been doing anything to keep yourself occupied, taught yourself anything new?
Yeah, I mean, so the first lockdown, we digitized everything. We computerized the whole business, our booking system and everything else, which we're just finishing the debugging of now. So that has been a godsend. You know, before we were manually, everything was written down on paper. You know, our planning, everything was done on paper. Yeah, we had spreadsheets and stuff, but this is all automated. So moving hundreds and hundreds of weddings is so much easier when there's a click of a button, and it does the stop control and everything for us. Without that, this would be awful. And you know, we've updated our website. We're working on that at the moment. We spent a lot of time researching social media, although we had a good presence on there, just doing more and more. We're just refining how we're going to work going forward as well. You know, it's difficult to keep yourself busy because there's only so much you can do. Yeah, today, it's a bit strange at the moment. Today, I've been booking in people that are getting married in August and in May. And, you know, people in May are still thinking, yeah, we're definitely going to go ahead, no matter what the size is. So we've got to prepare for all that as well. So we can't do a lot. And Brexit, I hate Brexit at the moment. I am so over that already. It's killing us at the moment. Just it's adding weeks and cost, and people in Europe don't even know what to do at the moment. So that's my next big headache. Luckily, I've got about 6 weeks, hopefully, to sort that out. But yeah, that's all right.
No, exactly that. So with just touching on the postponements there, obviously big numbers. I know, Iain, we discussed yourself on Friday about how many we've had to sort of move and change, and I know you answered this question already, but to the others, what's been sort of your policy in the sense of changing dates and being flexible? Like, what reassurance can you give couples that it's okay to book a wedding if this comes back or if this continues? Like, there is a solution in place to get past it.
I could go first if you want. I think for us, the challenge is accepting that you can't predict too far in advance, so you can't do everything else. And so, from our point of view, it's just being as flexible as we can. I mean, moving dates is what we've had to do. I mean, we've heard about people who've moved 3 times. I think we've got people in the same boat. It's very, very hard. I think that's what we say to people at the moment is almost book with a backup date. Have that pragmatism with it, and then off you go. And then we'll do what we can to keep moving, keep adapting for you. A lot of it comes down to, it's not just the venue, especially if you get married in a church, they've got to be allowed to open, other suppliers and so forth. But for a venue like us, I mean, it comes down to what we're allowed to do with the social distancing, the tier system and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're hopeful that it'll get back up to 50 and then 75 and 100 and those sorts of things. And I know certainly there's a wedding venue group that we're in who are lobbying the government aggressively to get a roadmap out, not necessarily dates, because I think that is hard. And I don't think any of us, wish we were in the government's boat to predict the future of it as much as we try. I think it is that roadmap out. And so I think that's it. You just pick a venue that's flexible on it. But also I think the one thing to do is work with your venue rather than against your venue. We are all suffering. We are all struggling. So as long as we're able to help and there's a two-way conversation and we can find that date for you and everything else, it will work, and I think just maintaining good relations. And I say that because I've heard horror stories from some venues where they're like, it's really got, quite nasty in certain cases. But generally, we've been okay with that. So, yeah, and that's the same. We'll do our absolute level best. The truth is before I got cut off with my bad internet, so I've changed machines. The feedback has been that the staff want to work. They want to do weddings. They want to make it happen. They love it. They really want to do these things. And so,
you know, we will do everything we can to make it work. And at certain points of the lockdown, we arrange weddings at a few days' notice. You know, we managed to do that, and if necessary, we will do that for people. So it's just about being flexible with us, really. So yeah,
you can't ask fairer than that. Maybe yourself, Simon.
Yeah, it much the same really. It's about being as flexible as possible. I mean, we with the kind of, you know, cars we have, just to talk about cars briefly, they are very specific, and because they're so rare and old, there's no real multiples of them. Certainly no others in the country, let alone if there are multiples, we try and own them as much as we can. So we've had, much as Andy and much as you guys have all said, multiple moves of the same couple, the same wedding to different dates. One of the biggest challenges we've found is that where people book a specific car or type of car that they like the look of, but when they come to postpone and move their date, it's gone. And that's something that we've had to try and, you know, work with couples, just like Andy said, have a two-way conversation about, is there something else you would like? Is there another way round? Can we have, you know, would you like to book 2 dates instead of the one, just in case you need, like, you know, another backup in mind further on down the road? But we're not, you know, I've heard horror stories of other transport companies, not just cars. This is hire per se of anything for the wedding, including venues, where people are being penalised for moving, you know, any more than once. And as much as we are, you know, businesses, this is to a certain extent our livelihood. You can't penalise people financially for the sake of them wanting a separate day. It's not necessarily going to cost us any more to just move that day, you know, and sometimes it's only a couple of months down the road. So we certainly aren't penalising anyone for moving if they feel it's really not going to happen for them. Obviously, if it's a national lockdown, there is no choice. We you know, everyone will move. There is no. It's a legal precedent. You have to work with that. But it's definitely a two-way conversation. We are doing our level best to get them the product that they want on the day they like it, and you know, that's only going to carry on. But say that our difficulty has been specifically when they like certain types or certain colours or certain things of cars. If they've already gone, then it's a bit of a difficult conversation to say, you know, we can't hold, a bit like Iain, he can't hold every burgundy suit he owns for hire for that day, just in case. You can't work like that, you know. It needs to be a two-way conversation. But you know, come talk to us. We'll help out as and where we can.
Yeah, I sympathise with that because there's only one Andy here. So
he's a good one though. He's a good one.
I'm very lucky in the sense that we've had some horrific dates for 2021 with 5-6 weddings and needing sort of 14 people, and I rely on other professionals that come in and help, but of course they're in the same boat. So it's been extremely difficult this year to try and cover everything. So I totally sympathise when a booking comes in, that gutting feeling of like, oh, that's gone or that date's gone. But just touching on what you said about price increase and what people have done, the only thing, I'm very transparent in how I run things here. And all I've had to say now is, look, I could stomach the one move, but with Brexit, I have my videographer, I had to give him a pay increase because we're now talking of people that come and see me in 2018, 2019, and now we're potentially getting married in 2022. So there's a massive chunk there, and I'm just very transparent. This is what I need to charge. It's what I need to charge, and the way I've explained it, which is the absolute truth, is I can't afford to lose any more, but I don't want to make any more either. I just need to make sure that stays at the same cost. I've done that 7 times now in this just this last 5 days, and everybody has been pretty fair. So I think what we also need to remember is, as suppliers, is we're surviving as well. So if my advice would be, if someone does come to you and says, I'm sorry, but like you've now moved to this 2022, 2023, expect a small fee to now be included to a degree. I know what you're saying. I've heard of horror stories at venues that charged them extra because they got married on a bank holiday Sunday in May 2020. They wanted to move to a Saturday in June. And they said, well, now you've moved to June, you've got to pay another double. And they said, well, I've already paid it. And it was like an ongoing battle. So I know a lot of these things go on. But I do feel, as much as I sympathise for these couples to no end, there needs to be a little bit of give the other way and sort of think before a knee-jerk reaction of why do I have to pay that?
It's an interesting one. I've spent quite a lot of time with the couples who've got most edgy, should we say, about it, is actually talking them through the reality of what we're dealing with. I'm not going to lie, I think people probably walk up to the house, assume that because we've got such a big house that we own, we're obviously absolutely millionaires and we just swallow it all and, why are they being so horrible? What they forget is that more than 3/4 of it is a mortgage. It's not as straightforward. And I've got staff to pay with furlough. We've got to cover, the staff's bits and bobs, gas bills, etc., etc. I think what when I've spoken to them, said, look, my biggest issue is refunds. If you demand a refund, I will be bankrupt, because if I do you, it's unfair if I don't do the next person, the next person, the next person. And actually just explaining that and saying, and that's why we're doing postponements. If you do want to move from a Friday in May to a Saturday in July, cover the increase, as you say. I think that's long. And as long as you're being reasonable, we found the vast majority of people who actually still want to get married. We've had one couple who didn't, so that's the subtle difference. And we found out subsequently that's why they were being a bit awkward. But then they will do it. And I think it's just about being honest. And a lot of our couples have actually, we've resisted this, but a few of our couples have said, would it help if we pay more up front? And I'm like, well, actually, for your own common sense, don't do that, because let the government take the burden, not yourselves. But it is that. So refunds, those sorts of things, I think explaining to couples what it would take to survive. Because frankly, if few couples screw us all, then they screw all the couples as well, because we won't have any money in the pot, and then we'll be gone, and then everyone will suffer. Not just the wedding couples, the whole economy, everything else. So I think at the moment there is an element of educating people how it works. But again, if you're being reasonable, honest, open, and doing what you can, I think you can get that balance right. It's tough though.
Indeed. But yeah, no, that's brilliant. Right, so moving to more industry, let's try and be a bit more upbeat and positive. Simon, there's obviously, due to social distancing for yourself, because we always social distance from you at wedding fairs, even if they're going ahead or not. Well, it's true, we leave you outside. So what I would say, mate, is obviously you rely on shows, I think, heavily, like I do. Obviously, you've got a fantastic reputation. So can people come and visit to see the cars once the restrictions are lifted? Can they still have a look at them, or is it just online? What's the process you've got in place now?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Obviously, during the current national lockdown, then no visitation is possible. But during any of the tier system, where everyone is, because the showrooms are large and extremely spacious and heated and lit, people can come along and see all of the cars in person. That's not a problem at all. Everything is sanitized. They will have all of the showrooms, all 120 feet of each of them to themselves. So we won't be present or with them. They have a look around. It's not a problem at all. Including booking, that can all be done there as well. We do have, quite a good website where people can see them there too. But as far as lockdown goes, and we get asked this a lot about taking part in weddings during the tier system. We managed to do 42 weddings last year. Managed to actually complete 42 weddings. Obviously, really scaled down. Most of them were at the 15 guest level. Some then at the 30 level, which was kind of June, July time from memory. We still get asked now, what kind of is the situation? Basically, it's the same rule that you have for kind of, indoors and in your own homes, whatever those regulations are. It's the same for the back of the cars, and most of them have kind of got, divisions between the front and the back. So it's kind of, they're all sealed units, so all the drivers will all be masked and have hand sanitizer and everything with them on the weddings. And the same goes for film and TV as well. Again, we're doing a music video this weekend with three of the cars, one from the 80s and two from the 30s. And it's the same. Obviously, this is during a lockdown, but it is it's production. Production can still go ahead. So, and I've had to speak to our MP to double check that was still the case when kind of I got asked to, kind of hire them out for a music video. But that's perfectly within the law, I'm told. And again, it's about just being careful, keeping your distance, and maintaining public safety, which is all of our responsibilities, obviously, all together. But yeah, no. So for the minute, give us a call. We can make videos for you if you want to come and see the cars, or wait a couple of weeks and come and see us in person.
Perfect. And yourself, Andrew, are you? Have you thought about maybe doing virtual tours for people or anything like that, filming, or are you doing that? Is there anything you've got? So I know someone's posted saying that they've actually booked you for a day. I can't see now because the comments have come in, but they done it and they said you was fantastic. I think it came with D, the lady's name, I think. Shame Dawn, I can't see it. Yeah. Dawn. Yeah, saying Dawn was fantastic. And they haven't seen it and they've booked it on what they know from the web.
Yeah, so. I mean, we've kind of said to people, look, if you book it and you come and you hate it, then we'll let you reconsider. So those sorts of things. Virtual tours for us, I think it's a struggle. Sure, actually, as a from photography, you tell me that we could be done. A large part of our appeal, as you've been here, is the views and things like that. And so actually, that's very hard, I think, to do virtually. I think when people walk out the back doors and see hang on a minute, we're in Essex, but we've got views. This is mad, sort of thing. That sort of stuff, I think, is hard to recreate. So a lot of it's done with photography and things like that, and depending on what we've got. And I have to say, Dawn does most of that and battles on. We've taken a view that actually once we're allowed to reopen it, we'll probably try and do multiple viewings on the day and try and make the place look as good as possible. If I'm brutally honest, right now, for instance, because we're closed, in order to reduce costs, we've taken a lot of the marquee apart, because actually that means we haven't got to have the linings up and keep cleaning them and all that sort of stuff. So things like that wouldn't necessarily work so well. In fact, if I'm honest, January is always a hard month because people get engaged, want to book, and then your garden's not grown, you've got no pretty flowers out, the moat's full of water and all that sort of stuff. So you're trying to we've generally said we'll do the viewings when we can. And after the last lockdown, we had a glut, we got a few bookings, and then off we go. So we've tended to take that view as much as we can. And you've been involved in some shoots here and things like that. And those sorts of things help people get a feel for it as much as we can, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Iain, what about yourself in the terms of, I know you do, we've discussed privately a lot of, like, say, online presence and stuff like that. So will you plan, I know you're booking up appointments, but is there anything else in the pipeline with the shows down at the minute that you think we might do?
From tomorrow, we start taking bookings on Zoom consultations. So myself or Jake will come in the shop, talk to people, go through the ranges, and then we will, on the high ranges, because it's a lot easier, we'll send parcels out to people to try on at home. So if people are worried, they've got weddings coming up early, say May time, or a small wedding in April, and they really want to get going on it, we can take sizes, have a look at people. We've been doing it for years, so normally you can size someone up instantly, even over Zoom. And then we'll send out a box of stuff for them with loads of different suits and accessories and stuff like that they can try on at home, just give a feel and an idea for it. When we reopen, yes, we are taking a lot of bookings at the moment, especially in April and early May, people to come in and view, hoping that we will be open. We're lucky in the point that the shops are quite large, so we can socially distance two groups at a time. Keep one at one end of the shop, one at the other. The trouble for us is the overrunner parties and things like that. We have to keep a buffer time in between, because every shirt that's tried on has to go in a bin. Every suit that's tried on has to be quarantined. Every change room has to be sprayed and wiped down after use. If we're sizing people, it's taking 4 times longer to actually do the job, and the laundry and everything else when we were open last time was magnificent. Buckets and buckets of shirts and rails and stuff in quarantine. So it's quite a different process going forward. And it will be for however long it's going to last. But yeah, without the wedding shows, I feel that Zoom consultation and things like that, people can get a hang and see the colours, especially because, I'm sitting in the shop at the moment, there's a lot of stock on display and we can dress stuff up for people and things like that. So just trying to do whatever for the earlier weddings, I suppose, really.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Fantastic idea of the Zoom and sending something out. I didn't expect you to say that. I don't know why, but what a great idea that is. So I think that will work really well.
Today, and it'll go live tomorrow morning. So.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Well done. I'm just going to jump on here because the questions disappear if I don't grab them quick, because when they write, I don't want to touch anything in case we all stop and disappear. I'll start this one because it's down on hall question. Can smaller weddings have the evening reception indoors at down on hall, or are they usually held outside?
Yeah, so before Christmas we were doing them in. So, yes, is a short answer. Yeah, they can do. It depends on exactly how they want to run it, but yeah, we have been doing those. Yeah, and I think in the long run, it's something that we would love to do. Sorry, I think we need to dodge up again.
No, it's fine.
But we've really enjoyed them. The staff have really enjoyed the small ones, actually. Sometimes the really big ones, you don't get to know all the guests as well. Actually, the guests almost become the sort of 16th, 17th, 18th guests if you're the staff, become those extra guests, and that's a really nice thing. So, yeah, actually, again, it's something we would look to do a lot more of in the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I've actually purposely invited, I've managed to convince a couple of brides to be, and a bride that's had a COVID wedding with only 15 guests to come on in a couple of weeks just to have a little chat, so people can listen to brides' perspective and know they're not alone, and also listen to someone that's had their day and it wasn't what she planned by a long stretch of imagination, but how she felt. And it's so true. Every wedding that we did do, not many, but they all said how much they enjoyed it. And everyone I've spoken to that got married said, actually, it was really intimate, really good. There's just another question here, and it has disappeared, but I remember the date. Someone's asked, honest answer, if you was getting married on the 18th of June, how long would you personally leave it until you considered postponing your wedding?
Well, I think looking down at the questions, that's one of our grooms that we're doing the wedding for on the 18th of June. I wouldn't rush into anything just yet. We no one can be confident, as Andrew said. We haven't really had a roadmap yet, let alone dates. But rushing into changes change isn't good at the best of times, and making an unnecessary change, I think you probably need to leave a bit more time, especially now we've still got 2 or 3 months, 3 or 4 months rather, to get anywhere near June. So I really wouldn't rush into changing any dates for what is ostensibly the beginning of the summer just yet. Obviously it all depends on the size of the wedding, the number of guests. If it's a relatively small wedding anyway, then pretty much definitely don't move just yet. But if it's sizable numbers and you've got your heart set that you want 150, 200 people, if it's that size, then still leave it a couple of months to see where the land lies. But I wouldn't be running away yet, personally. Based on what I've heard and what the sort of plans are, I wouldn't be running away from the end of June just yet.
Yeah.
Sophie? Oh, sorry.
Go on, Ian. Sorry, Ian.
No, you carry on.
Okay, yeah. I mean, from our point of view, I'm studying this a hell of a lot. I have a day job as well in software and hotels, and we're trying to map when they'll all be open, so we make sure we've got enough resources and stuff like that. I think the bit we're looking at is by February, June definitely wouldn't be rushing it. Middle of February is a key date. So the time the vaccines and that kick in, we will see a lot more. Now the question is how big a wedding is. I think is a factor. If you've got 1,000 people, you might be struggling. But if you've got say 100, 150, that would be it. Ireland did bigger weddings. I would wait. I think probably 60 days is probably the closest you're going to be comfortable getting. If you can do, maybe 90 days is more natural. Clearly, it comes down to your suppliers and things like that as well. But if you can wait, I would, because let's face it, people are going to bloody love it when you do it, because they're going to be wanting to go nuts and get out there. So I would wait just a little bit longer. And it's hard. It is hard. I appreciate that. It's hard for us, hard for everything else. But I would wait as long as you can, that you're not going to lose deposits and things like that. But I think you'll be fine. Most suppliers will move with you. So yeah, I would wait.
Anything to add there, Ian?
No, I just think the feeling I've got over the last week is everyone from May onwards is holding on, really. We've moved most of March, a lot of April. But even so, a lot of people in April are holding out, as it were, for a small wedding. I think maybe towards the end of April, they might be okay. But for June, we haven't really moved many yet at all. May and June, people are definitely holding on. Like I said, I've been booking fittings for people in May and June constantly the last couple of days. So hopefully that positive vibe means that, people are going to stay with their venues and everything else and suppliers, and just wait out for the next, like I said, mid-February is the crunch time, really.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes any difference to anyone, we've still got 6 bookings that haven't moved, and we've been in contact with them. So 6 bookings for the end of February, and we've got another 18 still for March, and April is pretty much full. So there's confidence out there because we haven't had an entire wave this year. So if it means anything to any brides or grooms out there, the majority of you, are with us, and that we all, Ian, Andrew, and Andy, and I don't think that kind of the beginning of summertime is probably going to be the right knee-jerk reaction to move just yet. In fact, people are having confidence earlier than that. So I definitely wouldn't panic at all. Wouldn't worry.
No.
Yeah, it's late February ones. It's a bit like, what if you don't mind clinging on and you're not too nervous about it, why not? As long as you've got an agreement that, let's face it, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to have to move, and you're not so worried about it. And it does depend on what other suppliers you've got to line up. I hopefully get that. But yeah, why not? And before Christmas, people waited till the very end and they got it, In fact, I think we moved one forward 3 days to hit the tier 3, whatever it was. But I mean, that was fine. And they loved it, as I say. And they're now not waiting 4 or 5 months. So, it's been great.
Well, we had a fantastic couple. The night of the announcement, when he cancelled Christmas and lockdown as of midnight tonight, we got a phone call in the afternoon from one of our couples saying, Andy, are you free at 10 o'clock tonight? Because we're going straight to the church and we're getting married. We've had enough of this and we're doing it. And yeah, funny enough, I couldn't, where I was stuck, not expecting that kind of call, but a good friend of mine went over and covered it for us. I've got another good question here, Ian. I know it's going to be a bit like you're repeating yourself. I'm sorry. Demi Jo's just come in and she's asked, she's getting married in October. Still hasn't got suits or bridesmaid dresses, as obviously the shops are closed. Any advice how to shop for the groomsmen and bridesmaids without going into stores? So obviously she might not have heard what you said about what you're starting tomorrow, so maybe just run over that again quickly and obviously explain your turnaround time of people coming in late.
Right, so with us, from tomorrow we're doing Zoom consultations within the shop, so people can go over the ranges, we can dress bust for you, go through colour schemes and styles and things like that. And especially on our higher ranges, we can send stuff out for people to try at home, so you can get a good idea of what we can offer. When it comes to things like bridesmaids and things like that, there are lots and lots of resources. I mean, someone like Desi, the big bridesmaids company, there's so many dresses on the website and things like that. There's lots to look at. The trouble is, I think when everything opens, people are going to be rushing in to get stuff sorted. So, time in shops is going to be quite limited. The other problem I can see at the moment is supply of things like dresses and stuff. With us, we're fine because we got all our stock in this last March. So we've had it all delivered. We've got some stuff sitting in Germany we can't get in due to Brexit at the moment, but we've got all our hard stock done. And with our made to measure stuff, it's quite individual. So they're tailored, 4 to 5 week turnaround. With hire suits, we can do them in 24, 48 hours. Everything's here ready to go, not a problem. But over the last week or so, we've had a lot of contact with suppliers. I think I mentioned it last time, or we mentioned it off camera, that one of the biggest shoe importers of the country, their container price has gone up 500%, and they can't get the containers into the UK. They had to unload in Germany the other day and ship stuff through. So things like dresses, 99% of them are made in China and then coming in from Europe. The made in China coming in from Europe, the price is going to come up. And the dresses for the end of the year, it may be difficult. So all I can say on things like that, get in early now. And also it's going to, going forward as well, if you're looking at things, Simon's got his card, he's going to have his card. You've got the venue, you're going to have the venue. But, things that have to be ordered in, the prices are going to go up definitely in the short term, at some point very soon. We're going to suck it up for this year. We've made that decision. We've said, anything booked, be 2020 prices for the next 3 years, as long as it's booked. And we'll hold that right through to the end of the year. After that, there's definitely going to be a price increase. But looking for October for us, I would say wait. Ignore March and April, because I think everyone's going to be rushing in to get stuff done quickly. August time, July, it'll be quieting down a little bit. The rush would have gone so much. We'll be doing lots of weddings, but not so many people looking. But you've got time on our sort of thing. But on other things, I'll just start to plan and maybe book into places, because there's only so much you can do online.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And just going on, Demi, if you want to, I'm pretty sure, again, in a couple of weeks' time, you've got Chanel from De La Closet, I think it's called, excuse me, Sean, I'm getting your name wrong, your business, but she does fantastic multi-way dresses. So they're all for bridesmaids. So she'll be able to give you an answer on how quick she can get those. And I'm guessing potentially she's having the same issue with every supplier that gets something exported in. Someone's put there, will flowers be affected due to Brexit? I would guess so, that it's the same problem at the ports, I've heard. But again, there will be Victoria for Simply Stunning Flowers coming on. I'm sorry, I don't have the calendar because I'm upstairs, but she'll be on in a few days so you can ask her all them questions as well. So with, I think they've presuming, and they're going to be really wrong with my answer, that 4 men, a car specialist. What's your favourite car is what we've been asked, or your dream car if money was no object. So I'll let you go first, Simon. Go on, as you're the pro.
Oh, I don't know. I'll make it easy. We already own it. It's a big red Cadillac. There we go. Done. American 50s. Not too bad on gas. Perfect. How about you, Andrew? Make it a 4x4. Is it a Land Rover?
I was on mute. I have to say, I'm not the biggest car fan, and every time you bring the cars, I go, "That's really nice," but I don't know what it is. That's the problem. So I'm always like, "Oh, the kids go, what's that?" And I'm like, "Ask that man." Yeah, no, there's some lovely ones. We had a big red bus come once as well. That was good fun. So that's a car. That was good fun. Trying to get in while they were waiting for the bride, I was allowed to climb in the driver's seat. Bloody hell, that was hard work. I need to lose a bit of weight for that next time. So yeah, no, that was good fun. But I don't know, maybe a tractor. There you go. Just because we've got them next door, and one bride came and wanted to have a tractor pull her down because the church is just up the road, and then have the other cars follow her. That sounded like fun.
Yeah, no, I like you, Andrew. I'm not a car person at all, so I don't know. But I was in Kensington once and went round. As on the back street there is an old Ferrari garage. So I couldn't tell you the year, couldn't tell you the age. I know it was very, very old and it was very, very expensive. And it's probably the only car in my life I've looked at and thought, oh, if I was rich, I'd have that. So I am completely useless. Can't tell you any information about it. What about you, Iain?
Actually, I've talked to Simon about this before at Wedding Chat. That's when we're setting up. We generally natter quite a lot. I would have an old Citroen DS convertible. That's really
exquisite taste. Exquisite taste.
Yeah, I'm just got another question. No, it's someone just answering the florist question, so that's all good. So moving up. So someone's asked, are the tailored suits, Iain, made in the UK when they're specialist to order? Have we lost him?
He's frozen, isn't he, unfortunately?
Never mind. We'll move on in that sense then. So Simon, if you tell us a little about your fleet. So you've got 22 cars, I believe. Is that right? Was I listening?
Yeah, it's 25. Yeah,
oh, 25.
25. Well, 25 and a half. I'm whenever I'm not helping brides get the dates they want, or helping brides speak to the best suppliers, of which we're all here anyway, then most of my time spent kind of underneath them, making them the cars fresh and new again. So it's 25 and a half. There is another one on the way, as there always is another one on the way. But but we've got a big range from 1920s and vintage, so the traditional kind of white wedding car, 1950s round ones like the little representation here, all the way through to American 50s and 60s cars. So as far as market trends go, I mean, we're one of the kind of the oldest companies in that, and I don't want to use, I hate this term, industry. I don't like that, but the wedding industry I don't like. For the area, so we've been around roughly 15 years longer than anyone else locally. And as far as, we were asked a really good question by a bride about 3 weeks ago, was I'd like something that my grandparents got married in, but we don't have any photographs from the day. What would it have been? And it got me thinking about kind of trends. I think even on the Essex Wedding Chat group, we were talking about colour trends in both, and it was both suits, flowers, cars, ribbons, everything. At the minute, most of our fleet, kind of the old English white, we've got a couple of, you know, coloured American cars, and we've got a big blue vintage car as well. But go back 30 years when we started, it was primarily blue and burgundy and black cars, and suits were nearly always, I mean, Iain will bear this out, but suit colours were nearly always kind of charcoal grey in the 80s and 90s. That was pretty much, you know, pretty much it. Flowers were nearly always white, and photographers were always smiling, carrying a separate flash. You know, that obviously doesn't happen now. So yeah, so you know, as far as trends go, you know, our fleet it always moves, as well as, you know, I'm sure Andrew knows, you know, we venue decor and even taste that brides have for where they'd like things positioned in the venue always changes. There's nothing ever stays the same. So yeah, at the minute we've got, you know, a reasonably stable fleet, but everything changes. So, you know, if you want to put comments in the below as to what your wedding colour theme is, or, you know, your preference on layouts at venues, don't forget to leave comments and questions for the below, because we'll be happy to answer them. Iain, you disappeared off. There was a question about favourite suit choices for the next year and next year, and what you've seen with trends and choices of suits for hire. I think it was for hire.
For hire, I was just thinking about this actually. For hire, it's still blue. Blue is the most popular in some form, be it tweed, be it a normal suit, dark blue, light blue, with some kind of contrasting waistcoat or something like that. There is like, trouble is nowadays, it's a bit like so hard to do, you know, the trends and things like that. Going back, say the 80s and 90s, at one point it was so easy. You know, you just go black 3/4 length jacket, ivory waistcoat, there you go, out next one. And it was literally like, it was a production line of suit hire. People would come in and they basically wanted either that or tails, and it was very, very similar. Now, every wedding is different. Hence why we do so much custom made and made to measure, mainly for the groom, not so much for everyone in the party, but the groom standing out. And the choice, you know, we look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 just blue normal suits that we hire. All slightly different shades, slightly different textures. Because everyone wants a different feel, a different look to it as well. But yeah, I would definitely say a normal blue suit. But dinner suits, like we talked last time, Andy said about bow ties. Dinner suits are really popular. All the inquiries this week have mainly been on dinner suits. So there's a lot of that coming back through. A bit chicer. You know, we've gone through the stage of a lot of vintage tweed and stuff like that. And it's a little bit sharper at the moment, definitely.
I'm taking full credit for them inquiries on my Instagram post. Someone, what they did ask Iain before you got disconnected was if someone has a custom made suit, is that made in the UK or is that still imported in?
They're imported in. They're made in Europe. I'll be honest with you, we are very honest about where our stuff is made and how it's made and everything else. There's a lot of adverts out there. You know, £400 for an English bespoke suit, £900 for an English bespoke suit. No one makes them in the UK for that much money. You know, if you're having a bespoke suit, it should be £2,500, £3,000 to have it handmade, not £1,000. It's not all done in the UK. Made to measure, there's very few in the UK. And I mean, I've been doing this 30 odd years. They can't make a suit like the European companies. The quality control isn't there. So all our stuff's made in Europe at the moment. Some of it does come in from the Far East. So does your iPhone. So does a lot of quality. It doesn't matter where it's made. It matters who makes it and how it's made. And there's a massive difference. You know, a really big difference. So I wouldn't worry about it being in the UK. Supply chains for us are fine at the moment, because we work slightly different. Everything's flown in, we're not going in the boats and things like that. But all our fabrics, all our waistcoats are all made in the UK in our own factory. All our ties, all our pocket squares are all made in the UK. All the suits use Italian cloth, they're made to measure, every part of it's Italian. The main hire suits are all manufactured in Germany. So it's basically European. But if I could make everything in England, I'd love to. You know?
Right. So I'm going to just stick with you, Iain. We've had 2 more questions come in on suits related. So this one is, what colour shoes would you recommend for wearing a blue suit and a grey suit?
Right, with a grey suit, black looks sharper. It definitely makes it with a grey suit. With a blue suit, it depends how you're wearing it. If you want that more vintage feel to it, yeah, brown shoes. Darker brown now rather than tan tends to be more popular. If you want it to look sharper, smarter, black shoes. Yeah, it depends how you're going to dress it up. Something that's got like a tweed waistcoat underneath or a bow tie or something like that, brown shoes work better. You get that little bit more of a contrast against it. Whereas if you're wearing a really sharp white shirt, blue suit, definitely black shoes works a lot better.
Perfect. And there's one more. It says, we're due to get married at the end of July. My partner was measured last year for his suit. Again, it's sort of how long before till he comes back to be remeasured before the wedding?
So if it's a made-to-measure suit, something like that, what we're going to do is every customer who's got a suit in the shop, the moment restrictions are lifted, we will phone them and get them in to try it on. No matter when the wedding is, there's hundreds of them to be tried on. Then we will do a final fit 2 weeks before the wedding on the made-to-measure. In case people have lost weight or put on weight, there's always leeway in the suit. With the high suits, again, anyone that's been sized up a period ago whose wedding's been delayed, we'll try and get all the high suits done 8 weeks before the wedding. Resizing can be done a couple of weeks before. So we're flexible on that. We know people have changed shape. Yeah, it happens a lot anyway. So we would get.
Yeah, lockdown doesn't help either. We've started a debate now, so sorry to Simon and Andrew because it's just flooding in, but we'll just get through these questions. I did say it was by popular demand, Iain, I wasn't lying. So one question is, do you have samples of pocket squares, tie, bow tie to send out that they can see, or is it on the website?
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, of course, we've got tens of thousands of them sitting around doing nothing. So you can say to me, I want to see every shade of pink in a tie and a bow tie. I would say, we've got plain, we've got pattern, we've got texture, we've got paisley, we've got wool ones, we've silk ones. Yeah, there's lots and lots. So what we'll do with people is we'll do a Zoom call and we'll show you the colours, show you what we can do. We'll dress a bus up. So we said we've got a lemon theme. We'll find ties and waistcoats that maybe will complement and things like that. Then you can say, well, I quite like that, quite like this. We'll put a bundle together and send it all out to you.
Okay, perfect. So that was Nicole. So Nicole, if you message Iain direct, he will get that sorted for you. Yeah, perfect. And then someone said that they're changing their theme of their colour. It's colour scheme to ivory and sage. Originally, they were going to have royal blue suits and navies, but the groom is not convinced that he should be wearing green. So is there anything you could convince, or can you convince him he should be wearing green?
You don't necessarily have to have like a sage green tie or something like that. You can put it in something. You can put it in a patterned pocket square with a little bit of green. You can have a tie that is not a solid colour. If you have something that's tonal, so it's got a light green and a dark green with a hint of sage running through it, it will pick up on any colour bridesmaids, but it's not as strong. So we do a lot of florals, paisleys, slight patterns and checks, things like that. Hold on. Joy's a
Iain's a great wallpaper salesman. He can sell fantastic wallpaper. He'll talk about suits in a minute. We'll just wait.
Which is, for instance, this is a wool and cashmere English waistcoat. This fabric's milled in England and made in England as well, the waistcoat. But it's got sage green, it's got a light green, it's got blue running through it. Ideal. You don't necessarily have to have this as a waistcoat. That as a tie with a three-piece blue suit will bring a hint of the colour in. The grooms tend to feel more comfortable with that. We don't do so much of the block colours anymore. They tend to be things that have got a subtle amount of colour in, because it then sort of tones in without taking over the suit or anything else.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you for that. One last one, and then we'll let you have a breather. So it says, brought the suits in February. How do they store them for the long wait to their wedding? What's the best way?
Suit bag hanging up somewhere.
Hanging up.
Still, so that you don't get moths in there.
Perfect. And Simon, we had one for you. It went crazy, so I had to try and memorize all these questions, and I got one for Andrew as well. Someone asked, they actually asked, have you ever had someone's dress too big to fit into the car? But that got me thinking, and the question was, did you have to talk them out of having that car? But then I thought, well, would you actually ask someone about their dress on the day? So maybe more, so that side of it, or even ask the question.
Yeah, it's or isn't it a sensitive one? No, we've never we've never not had a dress not fit in the car. Hoop dresses are tricky. So do you know those dresses that have got like a hoop? You don't see them very often now, but they're always entertaining for the photographer and videographer, because trying to get a beautiful bride out with a hoop dress legs first is, well, it's enough said about that, I think. But we, especially with classic cars, it's actually less of a problem. And I'll say this sensitively, not being a small person myself. A person of a gracious frame is less of a problem, including of what they're wearing, for classic cars than it is for modern cars, because the door apertures, how far they open, is enormous. So these cars were built at a time where you could wear a top hat and get out of a car gracefully. You know what I mean? So no, we've never had anyone or any dress not fit in one of the cars. It's not really a problem we have, because our cars are older. In a modern car, that is a real problem, and it's one that not necessarily people think about until the day when their hoop dress or 25-stone grandfather try and get into the back of a C-Class Mercedes. It's entertaining, to say the least. I've actually got a question for Andrew, actually, that I forget to ask. Andy and I have been very lucky to take part in a few photo shoots at your gorgeous venue. What do you know much of the history about Downham? I know you've got lots of stuff on your website about it, but is there anything you can sort of really brief history about it? Because it's a fantastic place.
Yeah, it's to be honest, it's quite a mongrel place. It's weird. Do you know, we're not even listed, believe it or not. We're not a listed building. Everyone's always shocked when they hear that. It was the main famous owners of a family called the de Beauvoir family, who built much of Hackney. So if you hear the de Beauvoir estate, it's often called the Beaver Estate in Hackney. They built all of that, and they were involved a lot in, I think, the East India Company. If I'm honest, last year, when all of these statues started getting attacked for all these sorts of slave trade connections, we quickly did a lot more research to check we weren't anything to do with that. As far as we know, they weren't. They weren't. We were like, oh God, so they seem okay. Actually, recently they were rated as a wealthy clergyman who lived here. So one of the last people who lived here was Richard Benyon, who's actually there's still a descendant who's an MP in the House of Parliament. So yes, it was a huge figure of eight property at one point. So the wall at the back is about 400 or 500 years old. When the guys came to look at that, they were like, wow, this is really old. Let's do some maintenance on it. And we believe that may well have actually been part of the old building, so it's there. It's difficult to know a lot of it because the windows and things have definitely been replaced. One of the interesting things is the richest people often knocked their stately homes down and rebuilt them. So it does make some of the history, because they were very, very wealthy, the de Beauvoir family, harder to track down. But we know it used to have 100 acres of ornamental gardens, and much of that is now farmland, but it is all the bowl around us, we believe, a lot of that, and there was a vineyard over. Which, if I have a stretch goal as a business, I'd like to install a vineyard, but we need a few more weddings and less pandemics before we get to that. And then we'll go from that. And the church at the top of the hill that looks down, the rumour has it, and even they say this to people, was the church was built to face the hall. I am cynical of that because it also faces the view. So it seems like a nice story, but if I'm honest, it probably faces the view. So yeah, but that's some of the history. So yeah, the main owners of the de Beauvoir family, and they own the farm and everything else around it. So if you come around Downham, a lot of places there's de Beauvoir Arms, de Beauvoir Farm, and all sorts of things like that. And yeah, a lot of them were related to the hall. So yeah, we're on very old maps. That's what I will say. So yeah.
Let's led me off nicely to the question that someone asked. For basically, how many rooms do you have? And when they book a wedding, are they exclusive to them, first come, first serve, in the sense of as their wedding guests, or is it just potluck in what other bookings you might have?
So obviously recently we've been doing these smaller weddings, and that is slightly different, but to put those to a side at the moment, the general form is an exclusive use venue. So yeah, we only have 5 bedrooms, so it's not masses and masses, and we do make sure that they are with the wedding. It's both ways, actually. I'm not sure we'd be comfortable having people who weren't associated with the wedding staying, because what if they complained about the noise or something like that, that sort of thing. So yeah, so all 5 bedrooms are there, and they're all quite large bedrooms. So yeah, we like to have those out. One's a family room, so we can get the extra 2 beds in there for if you've got a brother or a sister or something who's got young children and those sorts of things. So yeah, the 5 bedrooms, and then obviously the rooms wise, we've got 2 sort of main function rooms inside, and then we've got the marquee outside, if they're referring to that as well, which is obviously where the larger parties happen.
Yeah, cool. So I've got a video from behind the scenes in the shoot that Simon mentioned, and for anyone listening, what I will do is I'll post that shortly after we finish tonight, so people can pop over and see Downham Hall in its glory of the summer when we had that private access, which was a lovely, gorgeous, baking, roasting hot day.
It seems a long time ago, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But yeah, there's Christina done a kindly spoke to camera on there as well. So there's a little bit of Christina walking through the garden. So I think people will find that really interesting. So I will pop that on there.
She is floating about. I'm going to try and get her in a minute. She's much more the face of the place than I am. But
So over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've been given a list of questions that to ask. Speaking of the devil, here she is. Good evening, Christina. So they've been chucked questions, and this is probably the most appropriate time with the 4 of us men here and Christina now. So if you're married, how did you propose? So let's see if you got the romantic side, James.
You've been the worst bloody time. It's embarrassing now, isn't it?
That's a dreadful question, really.
We'll talk about the time we actually proposed, and Christina probably want to talk about the time I screwed it up as well. But yeah, well, let's start with the time we screwed it up, because that's a funny story. We were in Brazil, and I sort of set it all up, staying with a friend out there. He was going to sort it out. The first time we were going to go up Sugarloaf Mountain. So I thought, that'll be nice, up a Sugarloaf Mountain. That's all nice and romantic, isn't it? But instead of going up the normal route, he decided we could climb up. And he didn't realise we weren't bloody climbers, because Christina used to do stuff in the army, and I'd done it a couple of times. He thought we were experts. So we got about 100 yards up, and the guy went, "You're not going to get up here. You're not good enough." So we had to reverse. All the people waiting at the top, we didn't get there. So that was embarrassing. And we tried again on, what's the other one? Well, they're on the other side of the bay. They were doing a lot of renovation works on the cable cars. I'd researched how long it took to get up there, for sunset before we went and got the plane home. Because of the renovation works, it was a 2-hour wait. If we'd gone up, we'd have missed our flight. So that got cancelled as well. So let's just say that flight home, because she twigged what was going on, wasn't the best flight home. It's fair to say. So later that period, we went on a little holiday around Europe, and at Lake Annecy, I finally found the time to do it. So yes, that was in a lovely restaurant, Michelin star restaurant there.
It wasn't a surprise.
It was, but it's the fault that counts.
Well, they only spoke French, so she had to book the restaurant when she speaks French. So it's embarrassing. So don't follow me.
Iain, you look like a suave chap. So come on, what was it?
Starts off all right, but okay. So we were on holiday, somewhere romantic, like the Maldives, of course. And I hadn't really thought about it, and we were a little bit drunk, and spur of the moment, I proposed. Had no ring or anything else. So, being the resourceful person that I am, I bit the ring off a Coca-Cola bottle, the plastic one that goes around like a 2-litre bottle, and I used that as the engagement ring. So we got back, and I bought one. But that was honestly how I proposed to my wife. And I'm such a romantic. Our first back was actually Boxing Day, Arsenal-Chelsea as well. I bought her a hot dog.
And the hot dog's all that matters. And what about yourself, Simon?
I was rubbish. I mean, absolutely awful. A, I was a bag of nerves. B, I don't think Jen, my wife, I don't think Jen knew. Sorry, I don't think she knew I was going to ask her, definitely, because she was just grinning all the time, and I'm just the worst liar. I can't keep anything from anyone. If it's a fib, I spit it out immediately and then admit it straight away. So it was. She knew what was going on, and she's much cleverer than I am. You see, much cleverer than I am. So I took her back to where we went on our first kind of date, really, which is sort of where we first met, which was down in Sussex, West Sussex. took her to like one of these kind of like these midnight mazes. It's like a cornfield that's sort of been cut up into like a maze, which is where we first sort of met and went out a few years before that. And and I sort of got around the corner, and she was talking to me, and I wasn't listening because all I was thinking about is, right, ask it the right way, don't trip over, don't drop the ring and throw it in her face or something, And so then I sort of dribbled out the words, "Will you marry me?" and produced the ring. And she said, "Yeah, well, yeah, whatever, but shouldn't you really be down on one knee?" That's the bit I forgot. I was so nervous, I completely and utterly forgot to do that. So yeah, brilliant. And then I got lost getting home. So it took us 3 hours to do 30 miles.
Andy, how are you going to get us out of a hole here and give a... Andy, how are you going to get us out of a hole here and do a proper one now? It's fantastic. You better have three.
I think I might win this. I don't know if I'd win it in every conversation. I'm just, no, I see. My wife's birthday was the 10th of December. And she says she didn't, but she was expecting it either then or Christmas. So I went straight down the middle and went in. We just said, "I'd fancy going for something to eat tonight." And we just went out for a local restaurant, nice meal. But what I'd done is I had a Christmas card, because I'm rubbish when I'm nervous and I start getting flustered, and I thought, I'm just going to mess this up. So what I'd done is I got a Christmas card, and it said, "To my fiance," and inside said, "Will you marry me?" So I met my dad for a pint in the pub next door to the restaurant for Dutch courage, and then left with this card. And she was like, "What's that?" And I sort of was like, I didn't think this bit through. And I said, "It's a Christmas card from my dad." Thankfully, she didn't see Lauren on the front of it, because that would have been a bit weird. Gave her the card, and that was it. That was fine. She thankfully looked at me very strangely, said yes, but I didn't have a ring because I knew who I was marrying, and I knew that I wasn't qualified enough to pick that ring. so we went the very next morning and got everything sorted. So yeah, that's how I done it.
Well done, buddy. You big romantic, you. Well done. Well done.
But when you hear some stories of New York, Paris, it's not that impressive. And I left the restaurant name out because it was Prezzo's, but don't judge me. So, 1 second, I've got one more question. Moving swiftly on.
The chicken cottage.
Yeah. So, if you could get married again, and Christina, you can take part of this, what would you change about your wedding day and why?
The husband?
Wow, shots fired.
That quickly, didn't it?
I lined that one up perfectly for you.
What would I change? I think the main thing that sticks out for me is I wish I'd done a speech. So we had a small wedding on purpose. So we had key members of the family who weren't there. And so we wanted something really intimate. It meant a lot to us. And I just thought there were people there I wanted to be there. And I wish now I had kind of acknowledged that a bit more than I did at the time. I just thought I was so worried I would crumble if I did kind of say something. And that is the one and only thing I wish I had done. Everything else, fine. And we had the wrong wedding cake.
We were very easy, I think. For suppliers, we were incredibly easy.
Yeah. We were very relaxed. So yeah.
Be careful here, Andrew. What would yours be?
I don't know, actually. Honestly, it was probably actually what Christina said. I think that would have been really, really good. Doing the speech when people aren't there that you want to be there was tough because So I honestly, I think it was really, really good. I don't regret it at all. I mean, you sometimes wonder about little bits and bobs. You see other people get married here. I think the one thing that I'm glad we did, to switch it round, was the things that we did. We didn't do too many of them, and the things we did, we really appreciated. So we went hard on really having really great food. That's we're both foodies, and so that was key. So one thing I'd say is I'm glad we didn't try and do too many things, because I think that you end up spending all of your time doing admin and that sort of stuff. So yeah. So I think that's the one thing. So to be honest, I'm kind of keen not to do that if that makes sense. So I thought it was really nice. We were very lucky. We had like 35-degree heat, so we couldn't really have picked a better day. It was amazing. So yeah.
Perfect. Go on then, Simon.
Not much. I wouldn't change the suits. Iain picked me out absolutely fantastic one. It was really, really good. Everyone complimented like basically the groomsmen and I on our suits, and then Jen was the other star. Everything else was it's all right. But no, they were good. One thing I think I would change was that we had a Toastmaster for our wedding, and I didn't get to because I think he kind of had some stuff that he wanted to sort of say, and he was brilliant, very entertaining. But when I was doing my speech, which apparently landed quite well, what I didn't get a chance to do, because I had a little microphone and that got taken away from me, I didn't get a chance to toast Jen, the bride. That was the bit I was running up to, and he literally took the mic and then carried on to something else. So I never got a chance to toast, my new wife. So I changed that.
And yourself, Iain?
Do you know what? Mine's almost the same as Simon. Our day, we had a few glitches on the day. We had a cake problem as well. But actually, really enjoyed the day. It was my speech. That would be the only thing that I changed. Not so much the content, more the fact that I didn't really get to the content because I'm such a fucking bugger. After about 2 lines, I choke up, start bawling my eyes out, and that's the end of my speech, to be honest. Not a side of me people normally see, to be fair. But yeah, I'm terrible with things like that. I'm absolutely awful. So I think I got through 2 lines, and that was about it. The rest was me choking up.
It's quite strange, and perhaps anyone listening or rewatching this can learn from it, really, because this is a full house of speeches. So maybe that's something as a couple when you plan your wedding that you just completely overlook. And I think maybe some of that comes down to dread that you've got to do this speech or not. Like in Christina's case, you chose not to. But I think just owning it and just accepting it and working towards it, because mine is exactly the same. I think there was people that I had present but were left out. Purely just overlooked. And when you now a bit more mature and a few years later, you see the bigger picture and you're like, I can't believe I didn't say this about that person or this relative or that. And I think you just rush it. You think, right, I've got that down. I've got the basics. She looks nice. Thank you everyone for coming. Enjoy your evening. Let me sit down. But yeah, I think people can definitely learn from speeches. I love the speeches now because especially best men, it's my favorite part of the day. And I've seen even the groomsmen, I've seen groomsmen get up and sing and shock everybody. And it's I'm sure as venue owners as well, I'm sure you've seen some fun stuff.
The best one we've had was the maid of honor, honestly. Jesus Christ. I mean, she should go into comedy. It was absolutely brilliant. I was like, oh my life, what's she saying? But it was absolute genius. And so I don't think enough of the female speaker. I agree with Christina on that. I think it is there. The one thing I will say about the speeches there, because there's things in my speech again, I didn't get perfect. But the thing is, I don't want you to walk away from me absolutely terrified of speeches. That's the only thing I'd say is that the audience is there with you, and you've got all day to speak to them if you forget to say something, and people won't make you guilty or anything like that. And so I would say is actually the one thing to do is relax and enjoy it. And people are there with you, and I've never seen a speech where people have booed or anything like that. So, that just doesn't happen or anything like that. So remember the audience is with you and just to enjoy it. And if that helps you relax, you're probably more likely to say all the things you want. You're going to say that more if you're relaxing and knowing people are with you. So yeah, don't dwell on it is the other side of it too. So.
Absolutely. And one of the tips I'd give, I even give my couples is if you're nervous, have the speeches first. Now I know the chef might throw knives at me for saying such a thing, but in the way I see it, and excuse me here, Andrew and Christina, if you're paying for a meal and to enjoy it and to sit there, you want to enjoy your wedding. It's an expense. And the last thing you want, the amount of people like, I didn't eat nothing because I was so nervous about my speech. Well, just do it first. Just plan the timing in the day that you sit down a bit earlier, get the speeches done, and you haven't got to worry. But loads and loads of people I know, unfortunately, don't finish their dinners as certainly groomsmen and best men because of the nerves. Right, there is a little bit of delay, by the way. So someone said they dread. Sorry, go on, Andrew.
I say there's a venue. Don't worry about the venues, as you say. It's your wedding day, so you take the time. Don't worry about us.
Yeah, no, it's never. It's always the chef. The chef is temperamental, and as a supplier that normally gets fed, we keep the chef very happy, and we don't mess with the chef.
They carry knives.
Yeah, exactly. Someone put there they're dreading their first dance. Again, Andrew said it perfectly. Everyone's there cheering you on. They're not going to take the mickey out of you.
Well, if you want a story about the dreading the first dance, so okay, I don't know why we were all sharing our wedding memories, but we did this whole routine. We practiced in a living room, and it was
The night before.
walking back the night before. We got the thing, and then I started walking back. She goes, "I forgot. I've got a train, and we're walking on the train, and I'm going to fall over.
Can't go backwards.
Can't go backwards." So all of a sudden, that went out the window, and we were just shuffling around. So yeah, I guess there are things I'm now remembering we should have done better. So yes.
Perfect. I'm just going to round off now. Andrew, you mentioned being part of a different group, and you said you're banging on the door of the government and saying, someone's just asked, is there any petitions that you can share potentially in the group afterwards that people can sign and help? Is there any way we can do our part to help the industry, or certainly the hospitality section?
So I mean, if I'm honest, I still think signing up to the one to have a hospitality minister, the seat at the table one is the most important. And my day job is with, representing 2,500 hotels. So that sort of stuff is absolutely critical. And I think if we don't have a voice, and I'm very vocal in various quarters about that. And we do work with UK Hospitality occasionally and all that sort of stuff. And it is tricky. I think the ones to do is just keep an eye on the main ones that are out on Facebook. I don't think we've got a particular one. If I'm honest, as a wedding venue group, and there's wider ones as well, but as a wedding venue ones particularly, because we've got certain stuff with social distancing and that kind of stuff and sort of, it is really about the groups, the contacts that have now been made with the government. One of the wedding venues asked, I don't know if you saw it, People's Houses of Parliament, People's Commons, asked Boris Johnson when he was going to get married, Lara Gill from down in Cornwall, and that was fantastic, because after that we got loads and loads of things like that. So I would say actually just banging on the drum, the What About Weddings campaign and all that sort of stuff is the stuff to do, and just keep going on it, because I just don't think people, if I'm brutally honest, government don't realise the pain this is causing venues, suppliers like yourselves, the couples who've got all the delays, the family members who can't work out if they're going to be allowed to travel in from France to get to their niece's wedding, and it's just horrific. And that sort of stuff I think we need better representation of. So keep going on the drum. Once we get the seat at the table, there's plenty of strategies around doing extra testing, because if we, people don't need to go to a pub with 100 people. They can live without that for another couple of months. They will miss out at their wedding, because that's a once in a lifetime event. Can we do testing in the wedding venues that mean that the lateral flow ones that we can get going? There's lots of things that are being discussed with government, but the problem is that there's so many different competing industries that want to get special treatment that we need to really fight for that. So it is pressure, right, to your MPs, things like that. It really does make a difference. And going through that, I would recommend strongly. So I don't think there's any particular petitions, but it is just getting onto your MPs and saying how important this is to you, both as suppliers, but obviously I think almost more the public, saying what their sentiment is will begin to play a big part when they have to make the tough decisions of who opens next. And weddings have been shut, it will be over a year by the time we're back, most likely, properly, where you can have 50 or more people. So.
Oh, perfect. And Iain and Simon, just on the last note, so what would you sorry, let me start that again. A positive message to couples. What advice would you give them to keep plugging away, keep the faith, and how to keep enjoying wedding planning rather than it being this worry or dread? How can they turn that into a positive and something to look forward to?
You go for it, Iain.
Thanks, Simon. I suppose you've got to really, it's almost impossible to put it out of your mind, isn't it? The uncertainty and everything going on at the moment. But you've just got to try and look forward to it. I mean, if your wedding is so many months away, you've got to stay positive. You can't give up. Keep going. Look at what you need to do and carry on and do it. Businesses out there are desperate to serve you, people will go to any lengths to help you out at the moment. So I would contact suppliers and things like that, things that you haven't arranged, just start getting on with it. You'll be surprised how much people will do for you at the moment, actually. And that, generates some positivity and keep things ticking over until hopefully everything opens again.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you said it quite well there, actually. Keep calm and carry on. I mean, we can all speak as being very lucky and married couples, and it is, as far as I think, I'll speak for everyone here and say it is the best day of your lives. It really is. It's something that afterwards you think, wow, that was amazing. Or if you're Iain, you wipe the tears from your eyes and then talk about wallpaper, and then it's the best day of your lives. It really is. But yeah, talk to your suppliers. Iain's absolutely right, and so is Andrew as well. It's all about talking to your suppliers. Still look for other ideas, because weddings are so expansive now, and there are so many elements to a wedding that whenever you think you're finished, you're not. There's always so much more to be done and to look forward to. So enjoy the experience. We will be back. I know that sounds like a cliche, doesn't it? But we really will be back. It's the light is at the end of the tunnel. There is less doom and gloom every day. So you will be married, definitely. There's no ifs, nots or buts. You're going to have the day you want. Talk to your suppliers, talk to friends and family, talk to those that are married. It's amazing. Don't give up.
Well said. Well, like I say, thank you.
I guess my advice would be a little bit.
Oh, sorry, Andrew.
Stay calm. Yes, stay calm would be my advice. Don't try and do too much. And the one thing to remember is that most of your suppliers, hopefully all of them, will be really kind of professional and used to things going wrong. Right. So if things are going to go wrong, you've got the best people to deal with it, because that's our job, is to sort of manage out. If one of our ovens breaks, our job is you don't know that. And so if you have something go wrong, it is also our job to try and fix that. And it'll be true of the cars, everything else will be there, the suits, we will get through this, because that's our job. So you're paying us to do that. So don't worry about it. That's the thing. And just, again, talk to everybody, keep calm, and you'll be fine. And involve family members as much as you can. Frankly, it's your big day. They should bloody help you out. So, yeah, make them.
Yep. Choose your squad wisely, as I say. Well, thank you, all three of you, for joining in. It's a shame Occasions couldn't join us, but they will be back. We'll fit them in either on Friday or Tuesday, I think we're going to go for. But yeah, thank you guys for popping on, giving up your time, and thank you everyone for the questions. And like I say, I will post the video of Downham Hall, the shoot, because you'll get to see cars and the beautiful venue all there in one, and odd bit of photography from me. Brides climbing up haystacks and all sorts. But no, thank you very much.
Yes, that was a good one.
I will keep I'll keep the Zoom going for you guys, but I'll just end the live now, and I'll look for, just what I will say to everyone is, subject to any problems with the suppliers, on Friday we're going to go for 8 p.m. It's been requested, so I can't really commit to 8 p.m. on a Tuesday because it's homeschooling, but Fridays will be fine. So we'll do it at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday and 8 p.m. on a Friday, and these will continue all the way through lockdown, just getting anybody through whatever they need, questions answered, and being able to hear from suppliers to know that you're not alone, and we are here for you. So thank you very much.
Just on that note, Andrew, sorry, just to interrupt, we recently set up a YouTube channel now where all of these videos are being uploaded as we speak. There's already 2, the last 2 are already up now. So if you think you've missed this, or you can't find it on the Facebook group page anywhere, you'd simply type in Essex Wedding Chat into YouTube, and all of these videos will be there, and all of the links to all the suppliers taking part are there too. Apologies.
No, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, perfect. I will end that now. So good night.
Thank you.